So, good morning, everyone. Okay. Uh, so, I will discuss the continuation about the quizzer, about taxes on corporation. So, for passive income, diba, very ano naman kayo dito, familiar sa passive income. Diba, yung passive income is, yan yung mga investment na wala namang ginawa yung investor or yung taxpayer. Tapos nag-earn siya ng income patungkol dun sa investment niya. Okay? Yan yung passive income. So, una, statement 1, passive incomes are subject to separate and final tax states or tax rates. True naman yan. Tama. Ay, false, sorry. False kasi wait lang. Sorry. Yung statement 1, true yan. So, passive incomes are subject to separate and final tax rates. So, na-discuss ko na rin naman yan. Diba? Kaya nga, diba, yung mga passive income na subject sa final withholding tax are not required anymore to include on the taxpayer's taxable, gross taxable income. Okay? Or kasi nga, it is subject to separate and final tax rates. Okay? Kaya, di ba, sa taxable gross income natin, ang nilalagay lang po is yung mga ordinary income na subject sa basic income tax. Okay? Hindi po yung mga final withholding tax na subject. Yan, hindi yan included sa taxable gross income. Yung mga capital gains tax on sales of shares directly to a buyer. Yan, hindi yan subject sa hindi yan included sa taxable gross income pero subject sa capital gains tax. Ganon din yung sale of land or building sa corporation. Yan, subject yan sa capital gains tax. And not included anymore in the taxable gross income of the taxpayer. Okay po? So, tama yan yung statement 1. Okay, pag-ulit ko naman yung sinasabi simula pa ng nasa individual tax session pa tayo. Statement 2, false yan kasi passive incomes are included in the computation of taxable net income from business operations or of a corporation. So, sabi ko kanina, ang passive income, hindi yan related sa business operation ng corporation or any taxpayer. Okay? Yan yung mga ininvest na nung taxpayer na wala naman siyang ginawa, ininvest na niya, pero nag-earn ng income through interest, di ba? Yan. So, sa 72, the following passive income received by a domestic corporation shall be subject to 20% final withholding tax except, yan, dapat you are also be familiar with the final withholding tax na applicable sa corporation. Okay? You must differentiate the final withholding tax rates na applicable sa individual taxpayer at sa corporation. So more or less naman they are all the same. Okay, nagkaiba-iba lang kasi yung individual taxpayer is ano siya, 5 uri dibaga ng taxpayer. Samantala sa corporation, 3 uri lang siya. So almost the same din naman, yung tax rate niya, kaya lang ang pinagkaiba nga kasi yung sa uri ng taxpayer. Okay po. So here, interest income from peso bank deposit, yan, 20% yan sa domestic corporation. Tama? Tapos, yield from deposit na substitutes, ganun din, 20%. Dividend income from another domestic corporation, yung dividend income from another domestic corporation is a intercorporate dividend. So it is not subject for 20% final withholding tax. I mean sa 10% final withholding tax. Diba? Exempted po yan kasi intercorporate dividend siya. Diba? Intercorporate dividend, is sabihin, transaction siya within the company. So no need for that dividend be subjected to 10% final withholding tax, yung dividend income. Then next, letter D, royalties, malamang subject yan sa 20% final withholding tax. Okay po, so this is the summary of the dividend of the approach or dividend income. So from domestic corporation, ang nagbigay ng dividend domestic corporation, tapos ang naka-receive is another domestic corporation. So under trade law, exempt siya kasi intercorporate dividend. Under create law, of course, exempt din siya intercorporate dividend. Okay? So yung dividend is galing kay domestic corporation, tapos ang naka-receive resident foreign corporation. uh, Under train law, exempted pa rin siya. Okay? Kasi ang reason, ganun din, intercorporate dividend, kasi ang resident foreign corporation, di ba, tinataksan niya and within the Philippines. Okay? Only. Okay? So, it is understood that I mean, sa dividend income, di ba? Kanina nanggaling ba yung dividend income? Kay domestic corporation. Sino ba ang naka-receive? Resident foreign corporation. So, exempted po yan. Okay? Just like the reason behind the from dividend income from DC to DC, intercorporate dividend din siya. So, ano siya, within internal transaction siya. So, no need for that dividend to be subject sa final withholding tax. Okay? However, yung non-resident foreign corporation, ang nagbigay doon ng dividend, domestic corporation, tapos ang naka-receive non-resident foreign corporation, ayan, hindi na exempted yan. Okay? Kasi non-resident foreign corporation yung naka-receive. Okay po. So, it is not considered as a intercorporate dividend. Kasi ang naka-receive po ng dividend is non-resident foreign corporation. Tapos, ang nagbigay, domestic corporation. However, it is subject to 30% final withholding tax. Okay? Final withholding tax yan. Bakit? Kasi ang naka-receive, non-resident foreign corporation. Diba? For the convenience of the taxpayer, yung non-resident foreign corporation, that corporation is not required anymore to file its own income tax return. Kasi non-resident foreign corporation niya, nasa ibang bansa yan. So, very inconvenient sa kanya na magpa-file pa ng income tax return. So, as a result, yung nagbayad sa kanya, yung magbibidheld na nung final withholding tax na siya na yung mag-remit kay Bureau of Internal Revenue. Okay? So, the NRFC will never be file a personal income tax return kasi kung sino nagbayad dun sa NRFC na yun, siya na yung magbabayad ng final withholding tax. Para sa ganun, wala rin kawala. Okay? So, under create law, di ba bumaba yung 30% tax rate, naging 25%. So, same approach din siya. However, the tax rate is below, the tax rate is drop to 25%. So, final withholding tax din yan. So, yung 15% naman, di ba, familiar kayo sa tax sparing credit. So, tax sparing is that kung yung domestic corporation dito sa Pilipinas is nagkaroon ng transaction sa ibang bansa at naka-earn ng dividend din, naka-earn ng dividend income, then yung bansang iyon is mas mababa sa 25% yung pinapataw niyang buwis o kaya exempted yung domestic corporation na Pilipinas. So, yung corporation nila dun sa bansang iyon, kapag nagkaroon ng income dito sa Pilipinas or especially the dividend income, di ba? So, kailangan ibabaan natin tax rate from 25%, magiging 15% na siya. Okay? Yan yung tax sparing credit. Okay po, unless kung mayroong international agreement or yung parehong bansa na exempted yung income na yan once na naka-earn sila ng income dito. Okay? Exempted na yun. Pero kung wala namang agreement, kung mababa yung rate, edi babaan din natin rate. Up to 15% na yung magiging tax rate ng non-resident foreign corporation na yun. Okay po? So here, next, from resident foreign corporation to domestic corporation. So here, diba, under the train law, you must identify if that dividend is within or na-earned dito sa Pilipinas. So, kailangan natin malaman kung saan ba talaga na-earned yung dividend na yan. So, how? 'Di ba? Yung resident foreign corporation, 'di ba? Na-discuss ko rin naman na kailangan malaman mo yung income niya for the past 3 years before the issuance of dividend. Okay? So, halimbawa, 2021 siya dito, nag-issue ng dividend. So, back, 3 years prior the 2021. So, 18, 19, 20, ay di, 19. So, 2019, 2020, tama ba? 2018, 2018, 19, 20. Okay, so 2018, 19, 20, i-add mo lahat yung kanyang uh, income, tama? Then, i-divide mo sa total income. Okay? Yan. Then, whatever the percentage, kapag below 50%, ibig sabihin, yung dividend na yun is na-earned outside the Philippines. So, kapag, di ba, outside the Philippines, tama? Then, kapag 50% or more, yan. So, yan ay within the Philippines. Okay po? So, kapag okay po. So, under create law, automatic na, exempted na yun. Okay? Kasi, yan, kasi from resident foreign corporation to domestic corporation siya. So, under create law, exempted po siya. However, dito sa from non-resident foreign corporation to domestic corporation, yan, if situs of the dividend is without, considered foreign source under Revenue Regulation 5-2021. Okay po. So here, the the approach is that dapat malaman mo kung foreign source ba yung dividend income na yan or hindi. Paano? Eh dun sa ano natin, yung di ba yung 50% dun sa ratio ng income, di ba, na gross income Philippines divided by gross income world. So whatever the percentage kapag less than 50%, ano yan, foreign source dividend yun. Ibig sabihin, the majority of the income that was earned by the NRFC, di ba, ay nanggaling sa ibang bansa. Okay po. Kapag 50% or more, okay, so pag 50% or more, ibig sabihin, majority ng kanyang income ay na-earn dito sa Pilipinas. So, tinatawag yun na na-earn dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Pag below 50%, foreign source dividend yun. So, kapag foreign source dividend, automatic, ano yun, hindi yan subject sa income tax. Bakit? Kasi, paano ba tinataksan ang non-resident foreign corporation, di ba? Within the Philippines only. Okay po. Yan. So, create law may be exempt under certain conditions. So, yung mga condition, diba, be familiar with those conditions para ma-extend yung dividend na yan. Okay po. So, note, all other dividend received but not illustrated in the above table shall be subject to RCIP rate of 30%, 25%, or 20% as the case may be if received by a domestic corporation or resident foreign corporation. Example, dividend income received by domestic corporation from foreign corporation prior to plain law. Okay. So, 73, upon effectivity of create law, which of the following dividends subject to RCIT rate of 25%? Okay, so, paano yan? Isa-isayin natin. So, under create law, the dividend income received by a domestic corporation from another domestic corporation. So, domestic to domestic. So, intercorporate dividend siya. So, exempted po yan. Letter A. Letter B, dividend income received by a domestic corporation from resident foreign corporation. Diba? Ano yung na-discuss ko kanina? Exempted din yan under the create law kasi considered rin yan as intercorporate dividend. Okay? So letter C, dividend income received by a resident foreign corporation from another resident foreign corporation. Okay po. So, sino ba yung nagbigay ng dividends? Resident foreign corporation. Tama po. So, kung resident foreign corporation yan, ang nagbigay, tama, then ang naka-receive po, resident foreign corporation, so, dapat malaman ni, malaman natin kung majority ba yun nung income ni nung nagbigay ng dividend, yung resident foreign corporation, is within the Philippines. Okay? So, how can we know? Paano natin malalaman? So, as simple, ano yun, di ba yung diniscuss ko kanina, alamin mo yung 3-year theory in gross income prior sa issuance ng dividend, nung nagbigay ng dividend, di ba? So, alamin natin yung portion o yung percentage. So, dividend in gross income Philippines divided by gross income world. So, kapag less than 50%, ibig sabihin, yung income ng resident foreign corporation na nagbigay ng dividend is, ano yung majority ng income niya ay nasa ibang bansa. Doon niya na-earn. Okay? So, as a result, yung dividend income na yun ay na-earn talaga sa ibang bansa. Eh, paano ba tinataksan ang resident foreign corporation within the Philippines only? Eh, yung dividend na yun is foreign source dividend because the percentage of gross income Philippines over gross income world is below 50%. Okay? So, hindi na dapat taksan yun yung dividend income yun kasi foreign source income yun or foreign source dividend. Okay? However, kapag yung percentage ng gross income over gross income world, diba, for the 3-year period prior to the issuance of dividend, diba, 50% or more, ibig sabihin, majority of the income by the resident foreign corporation which issued the dividend is earned here in the Philippines. Okay? Kaya 50% or more, majority of income yan earned dito sa Pilipinas. So as a result, whatever the dividend issued by the said resident foreign corporation will be subject to regular corporate income tax. Okay? Na 25%. Okay po? So, yan. Kaya titingnan nyo muna under the Create Law kung foreign source dividend ba yan. Okay? Titingnan nyo muna kung sino ba nagbigay ng dividend. Tama? Kasi kung sino nagbigay ng dividend, dapat malaman natin, most especially kung foreign corporation yan, dapat malaman natin kung majority ba ng income niya 3-year period prior the issuance of that dividend is yun nga 50% or more. Okay? Pag less than 50%, foreign source dividend yan. So wag na natin hindi na natin kailangan tax. Okay? I-tax kasi paano ba tapos ang naka-receive ng dividend is foreign corporation, dapat yung mga within the Philippines lang ang dapat natin consider. Okay? So 74, upon the effectivity of Create Law, which of the following dividend may be exempt. Okay, wait lang. Okay, may be exempt from income tax. So, isa-isa natin. Dividend income received by domestic corporation from another foreign corporation. So, hindi yan exempted. Tama? Subject yan sa 25% regular corporate income tax. Letter B, dividend income received by domestic corporation from non-resident foreign corporation. O, sino ba yung naka-receive ng dividend income? Si domestic corporation. Tama? Kanino nyo na-receive? Non-resident foreign corporation. Okay? Kung nag-issue is a non-resident foreign corporation, tapos ang naka-receive is a domestic corporation, are we required to know the percentage of excuse me. Ay, naku, nagka-klase ako.
Nomis. Si Karen. Madera.
Nagka-klase ako.
Malabagyo.
Okay? So, yun nga. Di ba, paano ba tinataksan yung domestic corporation? Di ba, siya yung naka-receive ng dividend income. So, siya yung taxpayer. Tama? Paano ba tinataksan ang domestic corporation? Within and without the Philippines. Tapos, na-receive niya sa non-resident foreign corporation. Are we required to know the, what they call this, the percentage of gross income Philippine over gross income world by the said non-resident foreign corporation? No need na. Okay, bakit? Kasi nga, tinataksan yung taxpayer within and outside the Philippines. O bakit kailangan pa natin dapat alamin yung kung first source dividend ba yan or na-earn dito sa Pilipinas? Hindi na po kailangan. Kasi, ano yung tinataksan from all sources derived? Diba? Whether inside or outside the Philippines. Kasi domestic corporation siya. Tinataksan natin siya within and outside the Philippines. Okay po. So, ang sagot dyan, letter B. Ay, mali ito. Exempt from income tax. Letter C, dividend income received by a non-resident foreign corporation from resident foreign corporation. Okay, so, exempt eh. Which of the following dividend may be exempt from income tax? Yung letter A, hindi siya exempted. Yung letter B, hindi rin exempted. Yung dividend income received by a non-resident foreign corporation from resident foreign corporation. Okay? So, wait lang. So, balik tayo dun sa dun sa guide of dividend income. Kasi dito, ang naka-receive is a non-resident foreign corporation from resident foreign corporation. So, the best answer here is letter C. Okay? Yung letter C. Kasi yung B kasi, subject yan sa subject yan sa regular corporate income tax kasi nga, yung dividend income ay nanggaling kay non-resident foreign corporation. Tapos ang naka-receive, domestic corporation. Okay, para ba tinataksa ng domestic corporation within and without the Philippines? And we are not required anymore to know the percentage of gross income Philippine over gross income world of the non-resident foreign corporation kasi tinataksa yung domestic corporation as a taxpayer within and outside the Philippines. Samantalang yung letter C, di ba? Pwede siya ma-exempt. Okay? Then, tama ba? Wait lang. From resident foreign corporation. Okay? Sorry. Domestic corporation.
Did you hear me, guys?
Sa katang naka-receive non-resident foreign corporation, so under create law, okay, so, yan, letter C, exempted yan. Yun yung pinaka-best answer. I mean, best answer. So, letter C, hindi letter B. Okay po. Kasi, so,
wala si Mr. Ortiz.
Yan. Kasi based on our, kasi dito,
Can you please open your camera?
yan. Dito kasi sa guide natin, from non-resident foreign corporation to domestic corporation. So, maybe under create law, maybe exempt under certain conditions. Okay.
Mr. Ortiz, open
Okay.
the camera.
Okay? So, confusing siya. But based on our dividend income, ang answer is letter D. Okay? So, balikan natin yan ha. Wait lang. So, tuloy-tuloy muna tayo. So, number 75, foreign source dividend shall pertain to dividend received from... Anong sagot? Ang sagot ay letter C. Okay? Kasi here, ang nag-issue ng dividend is a non-resident foreign corporation. Tama? Okay, so non-resident foreign corporation, yung nag-issue ng dividend. So, more or less, yun ay magiging foreign source dividend siya. So, na-earn siya outside the Philippines. Okay po. So, 76, dividend income received by a domestic corporation from a non-resident foreign corporation may be exempt from income tax provided. Yan. Ito yung condition niya kapag ang naka-receive domestic corporation, okay, then yung nag-issue ng dividend is a non-resident foreign corporation. So, una, the dividends actually received or remitted in the Philippines are reinvested in the business operations of the domestic corporation within the next taxable year from the time the foreign source dividends were received or remitted. So, ibig sabihin, yung in-issue ni non-resident foreign corporation na dividend, ang naka-receive domestic corporation, tapos yung dividend income na is gagamitin for business purposes or business operation, reinvest dun sa business ng domestic corporation, yan, may exempted yun. Okay? Tapos, the dividends received shall only be used to fund the working capital requirements, capital expenditures, dividend payments, investment in domestic subsidiaries, and infrastructure project. So, kung yung dividend na yun is gagamitin sa mga ganyang activities, exempted pa rin yun. Then next, the domestic corporation holds directly at least 20% in value of the outstanding shares of the foreign corporation and has held the shareholdings uninterruptedly for a minimum of 2 years at the distribution. In case the foreign corporation has been in existence for less than 2 years, at time of dividends distribution, the domestic corporation must have continuously held directly at least 20% in value of foreign corporation outstanding shares during the entire existence of the corporation. So, ibig sabihin, titingnan natin yung kung ilang percentage ang share ni domestic corporation dun kay non-resident foreign corporation. Dapat at least 20% in value of the outstanding shares. Okay po? So, sabi dito, absent any of the above conditions, the foreign source dividend shall be considered as taxable income of the domestic corporation in the year of actual receipt or remittance, subject to surcharges, interest, and penalties as applicable. This rule shall likewise apply to dividends received by a domestic corporation from resident foreign corporation if the situs of such dividend is considered foreign source. Okay, so here, dito, yung requirements natin, dapat ang nag-issue is a non-resident foreign corporation. Then, ang naka-receive is a domestic corporation. So, domestic corporation yung taxpayer natin. So, dapat makomply yung lahat ng requirements para maging exempted siya. Okay po? So, isa lang, yan, magiging subject na yun sa regular corporate income tax. Okay? And also, this rule shall likewise apply to dividends received by a domestic corporation from resident foreign corporation if the situs of such dividend is considered foreign source. Okay po. So, yan. So, kapag ang naka-receive, first of all pala dapat, okay, i-identify muna natin kung foreign source dividend ba yun, yung dividend na yun na nanggaling sa foreign corporation. Then, ang naka-receive is sa domestic corporation. Okay, kasi may requirement siya para hindi maging subject sa income tax. Okay, maging exempted siya. Okay, how can we say if that dividend is a foreign source dividend? Yung ano natin, yung ratio or percentage ng gross income Philippines over gross income world. Okay, nung nag-issue ng dividend. After considering that, pinag-ulit ko diba, kapag less than 50%, foreign source dividend yan. Okay, kapag 50% or more, na-earn yan dito sa Pilipinas. Okay po. So, kung foreign source dividend siya na-compute nyo doon, then, para ma-exempt, dapat makomply muna itong mga requirements na yun. But generally, kapag nalaman mo ng foreign source dividend, yung in-issue ni um, foreign corporation and ang naka-receive is a domestic corporation, automatic, ano yan, subject sa 30%, sa 25% or sa regular corporate income tax. Okay po. So, yan. So, 77, interest income on bank deposit or investment with maturity period of at least 5 years received by a corporation in 2019 taxable year is subjected to domestic corporation 20, tama? Resident foreign corporation 20% din, and the non-resident foreign corporation 30%. Okay, so you must be familiar with the final withholding tax rates. Yan, kasi sa problem, hindi yan given. Okay? So, paano daw kapag interest income on bank deposit or investment with maturity at least 5 years under the CREATE law, yung non-resident foreign corporation, under the CREATE law, domestic, 20%. Okay? Resident foreign corporation, 20%, same din. However, the non-resident foreign corporation is dropped to 25%. Okay? Because of CREATE law, bumaba yung regular corporate income tax from 30% to 25%. Okay po. So, 79. Yan. Ano tayo sa 79? How much the final tax due in 2021? So, di ba, regarding sa long-term bank deposit or investment, di ba, magiging exempted lang yan kapag 5 years or more. Okay, na yung maturity value niya. Okay, kaya long-term deposit yan. Okay, however, kapag before the before 5 year, nang matured yung investment na yan, long-term bank deposit na yan, is nagkaroon ng pre-termination, may sabihin before 5 years, yan, magiging subject yan sa final withholding tax. Depende kung ilang taon na or yung period kung kailan mo na pre-terminate yung long-term deposit na yun. Sabihin mo withdraw mo. Okay? Kapag less than 3 years, ay na, 20%, 20%, 25%. Yan. Be familiar with this tax rates. Okay? Final withholding taxes. Kapag pre-termination of long-term bank deposit or investment. Pero kapag 5 years or more, doon lang na-terminate, exempted na yan sa final withholding tax. Okay? However, sa non-resident foreign corporation, consistent siya, 25%. Assuming the same information in the above problem, okay, was made by a domestic corporation, how much final withholding tax is withheld in the year of pre-termination? Okay, so except the investment was made by a domestic corporation, okay, how much is the withholding tax withheld in the year of pre-termination? Kailan ba nagkaroon ng pre-termination? Diba? 2021. Okay po, 2021. So, 1 million times bakit nagkaroon ng 10%? Okay. Wait lang. Except that the investment was made by a domestic corporation. Hmm.
Okay. Can we have Mr. Balabagyo?
If you're going to compare, 'di ba? Dito sa kasi sa unang tanong, individual taxpayer. Tama? Individual taxpayer siya. Okay?
Mr. Balabagyo, please.
Okay. So, ang tanong pa sa number 80, in the year of pre-termination. So, ang tinatanong lang is yung pre-termination period. Tama? So, kailan ba na-terminate yan? July 1, 2020. So, January 1 to July 1, 2021, yun lang yung tinatanong niya kung magkano daw yung final withholding tax on that period. Kasi year of pre-termination. Kailan ba na-pre-terminate yung long-term direct deposit? Diba? July 1, 2021. Diba? So, January 1 to July 2021, ang i-consider natin. So, 1 million then times the interest rate of 10% times 6 over 12 kasi January 1 to July 1, 2021 yung tinatanong kasi pre-termination period. Okay? Times 20% of course. Diba? Bakit 20%? Uh, 20% siya equals 10,000. Okay? Then sabi dito, the final withholding tax will be computed on a yearly basis, not cumulative. Tama. The investment is not under the name of individual taxpayer, hence not subject to rules of pre-termination. Okay. So here's pag corporation yung taxpayer, it's not subject to pre-termination. Okay? So, automatic, ano yan, 20%. Okay? 20% yung fix yan. Fix yung kanyang rate. Okay? So, however, kapag 5 years or more, nagkaroon na winidraw niya yung long-term deposit or investment, exempted yun. Okay? Tama? Mm-mm. Ano kaya? Tama ay so, wala siyang pre-termination period. So, sabi dito, ito yung difference ng individual taxation do sa corporate tax. Tama? Under Create Law, yung exemption sa interest income, hindi yan applicable. So, at the same time, wala rin siyang pre-termination period. So, fixed na siya for 20%. Okay? So, lahat ng long-term deposit or investment, regardless kung kailan yung maturity value niya, automatic subject yun sa 20% final withholding tax kapag domestic corporation, resident foreign corporation. Okay? Kapag non-resident foreign corporation, automatic 20% siya. So, one of the difference niya na approach sa individual taxation sa corporation. So, tandaan nyo, kapag individual taxation, there is a pre-termination period on the long-term investment or deposit. At the same time, may exemption siya kapag 5 years or more yung maturity value ng long-term deposit or our investment. Sa corporation, hindi applicable yun. Okay, walang pre-termination, then walang exemption. Okay po. So, interest income received by corporations from deposit under the PFCDS prior to the effectivity of Create Law is subject to final withholding tax of, tama ito, DC 15%, resident foreign corporation 15%, then non-resident foreign corporation exempted. Sorry. Ito pala, domestic corporation 15%, resident foreign corporation 7.5%, non-resident foreign corporation exempted. Okay, so yung interest income kasi galing sa under ng EFCDS, so Expanded Foreign Currency Deposit. Then before the effectivity of Create Law. Okay? So, what is the difference of that interest income dun sa interest income na dineposit sa isang bangko na hindi under EFCDS? Kasi dito, under siya na Expanded Foreign Currency Deposit System. Ibig sabihin, yung nire-remit ng domestic corporation or I mean, yung dinodeposit niya na pera, di ba, is under Expanded Foreign Currency Deposit System. So, automatic, hindi siya subject sa 20%, but it may be subject to 15% kapag domestic corporation, kapag resident foreign corporation, 7.5%. Pag NRFC, exempted na yan. Okay po.
Tapos elaborate mo kung bakit din.
Yan. So, 82, ito naman, under the FAIT law. Tama? Kung under the FAIT law yan, pareho na yung DC 15%, RFC 15%, then, diba, ang pinagkaiba lang, yung system na ginawa ng 15% yung RFC. Sa NRFC, exempted. Okay po? So, 83, royalty income received by a domestic corporation or by a corporation before the effectivity of 38 is subject to final withholding tax of yan, DC 20, RFC 20, then NRFC is 30%. Okay po. So, magiging subject lang yan sa final withholding tax yung mga royal income na yan kapag na-receive, kapag na-earn dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? So, kapag outside the Philippines yan, di ba? Yung mga mga income na subject sa final withholding tax na, yung mga passive income na na-earn sa ibang bansa, okay? It will never be subjected to final withholding tax. Kasi dapat magiging subject lang yan yung mga passive income na yan sa final withholding tax kung na-earn mismo dito sa Pilipinas. Pero kung na-earn sa ibang bansa, it will never be subject to final withholding tax. Okay? But, for the point of view of domestic corporation, di ba? Tinataksa yan, di ba? Within and outside the Philippines. So, although yung passive income na yan na earned sa ibang bansa, included pa rin yun sa taxable gross income ni resident foreign corporation. Okay, bakit? Kasi na-earn po yan sa ibang bansa. Okay? Kung hindi yan pwede maging subject sa final withholding tax kasi hindi yan na-earn dito sa Pilipinas, pero wala pa rin yung kawala kay taxpayer na domestic corporation. Included pa rin yan kaya sa taxable gross income nung domestic corporation. Kasi nga, na-earn yan outside the Philippines. E paano ba tinataksa ng domestic corporation within and outside the Philippines? Okay? So, tatandaan nyo lang na ang final withholding tax, magiging subject lang yung passive income na yan sa final withholding tax kapag na-earn dito sa Pilipinas. Kapag sa ibang bansa, hindi yan magiging subject sa final withholding tax. However, kapag yung taxpayer is a domestic corporation, yung passive income na na-earn sa ibang bansa, automatic included yan sa taxable gross income as an ordinary income. Okay po. So, 84, okay, same lang siya, yung royalty income na final withholding tax. Ang pinagkaiba, yung non-resident foreign corporation, drop to 25% because of trade law. 85, royalty income from books received by a corporation. Yan. Ito pa yung isang pinagkaiba sa individual taxation, di ba? So, kapag royalty income from books received by a resident citizen, di ba? Subject yun sa 10% tax rate. Di ba? Ganon din sa RFC. Tama kapag, sa mga resident alien, yan, then non-resident alien. Tama? Pero kapag non-resident alien not engaged to business, subject yun sa 25% final withholding tax. But here, kapag royalty income from books na receive ng corporation, before the create law, fix siya. Fix yung domestic corporation, then resident foreign corporation sa 20%, regardless kung anong uri ng royalty income yan. as long as it is considered as royalty income, sa point of view ni domestic corporation and resident foreign corporation, yan ay subject sa 20%. Okay? However, sa non-resident foreign corporation, before the create law or train law, under the train law, 30% po kapag NRFC. So, no such thing as 10% ka from royalty, from books, wala na yun. Automatic mag-royalty income, fixed na yan sa 20%. Or, yan, 20% under DC NRFC. Kapag under NRFC, 30% na yun. Okay? Regardless kung saan uri na royalty income yan, nanggaling. Basta consider as royalty income, fix yung rate niya. Compared to sa individual taxpayer, may 10% pa tayo, di ba, na kinukonsider. Dito, hindi na. So, sa 86, under create law, yan, ang pinagkaiba lang nila, yung sa non-resident foreign corporation, down to 25% final withholding tax under create law. So, 87, isa-isahin natin. How much should the corporation report as taxable income? So, yung mga ordinary income na included po sa taxable gross income and of course included sa income tax return. So, una, gross receipts from a trading business, of course, 500,000 included po yan. Interests from money placements in the banks. So, subject yan sa final withholding tax na 20%. Ano ang sabi ko kanina? Kapag subject niya sa final withholding tax, hindi na yan included sa taxable income ni taxpayer. Okay? Kasi from the word itself, final withholding tax, so it is a final payment on that particular passive income. And the one who paid that income will withhold the appropriate final withholding tax. Then it will be remitted to the Bureau of Internal Revenue. As a result, the taxpayer who received that passive income na subject po sa final withholding tax will never include on his or her or its taxable income. Okay po. Yan. Diba? Ulitin ko nga, diba? May 4 na uri tayo ng income tax. Una, ordinary income na subject sa basic income tax. Diba? Yan. Pangalawa, yung final withholding tax. Passive income na subject sa final withholding tax. Tama? Then yung pangatlo, capital gains on selling of shares directly to a buyer or not locally traded to a stock exchange. Yan. Subject yun sa capital gains tax. Then isa pa yung capital gains tax in selling of real property, di ba? Kapag under individual taxation, kapag corporation, selling of land or building, yan, subject yun sa capital gains tax. So always remember, kapag yung income subject sa final withholding tax, then subject na sa capital gains tax, di ba? There are no need to include the income sa taxable income na subject naman sa basic income tax. Okay? Yeah. Always, dapat be familiar with that. Kasi malilito kayo niyan. So, here sa problem na ito, letter B, dahil nga subject sa final withholding tax na yan, tama? There is no need for you to include that in the taxable income of the taxpayer kasi subject na yan sa final withholding tax. Yung letter C naman, dividends from ito stock investments in domestic corporation. So, dividends yan, tama? Sino ba ang naka-receive? Domestic corporation. Sino ba ang issue? Domestic corporation. Intercorporate dividend, tama? So, exempted po yan. Okay? Letter D, gains from stock transactions through the Philippine Stock Exchange. So, here, di ba? Nagbenta ng stocks or shares through the Philippine Stock Exchange. So, the 50,000 under train law, it is subject to what we call this? Stock transaction tax. So, ang formula niya, 6/10 of 1% multiplied by the gross selling price. So, yung item D, hindi yan po subject sa basic income tax or hindi na included po sa taxable income kasi subject yan sa stock transaction tax. Okay? Pero kapag gains from stock transaction through or not locally traded sa Philippine Stock Exchange or benenta niya directly to buyer, so yun magiging subject sa capital gains tax. Okay, na 15% of the gain in selling the stock. Okay? And dahil nga CGT siya, hindi natin dapat include sa taxable income. Okay? Yung letter A, proceeds under the insurance policy on the loss of goods, 100,000. Diba? This item, proceeds siya under an insurance policy on the loss of goods. So, insurance siya, tama, proceeds siya. So, hindi na dapat natin include sa taxable income. So, it is just only a compensation for the loss of goods. Tama. Ay, bakit kailangan pa natin taxan siya? Okay, it is only a return of investment. So, kung magkano yung nawalang goods, di ba, binayaran ng insurance company. So, it's just only a return of investment or capital. So, there is no gain or loss. Okay? Yan. So, 88, ang taxpayer, resident foreign corporation, so tinataxan lang siya within the Philippines. So, dividend income from a non-resident foreign corporation. So, okay? Ito na yung, kaya pinagsasabi ko kanina. So, natin. May siya dito, explanation. So, the dividend income from a non-resident foreign corporation to resident foreign corporation. So, that item, ito sabi dito, we must know the situs of dividend. Tama? So, alamin natin kung yung dividend ba yan na-earn dito sa Pilipinas o sa ibang bansa. Okay po? So, the general rule, kapag dividends daw ay galing kay domestic corporation. Yan. So, kapag galing kay domestic corporation, yung dividend na yun, sa yung nag-issue, automatic within the Philippines siya. Okay po? Pero kapag from a foreign corporation, okay? So, alamin natin yung percentage ng gross income Philippines over the gross income world. Tama? Yan. Sabi dito, kapag less than 50% of gross income of such foreign corporation, sabihin ko sino nag-issue ng dividend, alamin natin yung percentage ng gross income Philippines over the gross income world. Paano? I-consider mo yung 3-year period ending with the close of each taxable year preceding the declaration of such dividends was derived from sources within the Philippines as determined under the provisions of this section. Okay? But only in an amount which bears the same ratio to its dividends as the gross income of the corporation for such period derived from sources within the Philippines bears to its gross income from all sources. So, sabi dito, i-consider mo yung 3-year period ending with the close of each taxable year preceding the declaration of such dividends. So, ibig sabihin, kapag i-consider yung gross income Philippine and ang gross income world is based on the 3-year period before the declaration or issuance of dividends. Okay po. So, kung na-issue siya 2021, so ang count 2019, 2018, 2019, 2020. So, lahat ng gross income Philippine, ibig sabihin na derive sa Pilipinas, nung nag-issue nung dividend, i-add mo yun, then, ang denominator is yung gross income world. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng income na earn niya dito sa Pilipinas and lahat ng income na earn niya outside the Philippines. Okay? Para malaman natin yung percentage. Kasi kapag less than 50%, ibig sabihin, majority of that dividend income is earned outside the Philippines. Okay? 'Di ba? Yan, kapag 50% or more, ibig sabihin yung dividend na yan na-earn dito sa Pilipinas. Kaya we must be familiar with that rule kasi 'di ba, kung ang taxpayer ay hindi domestic corporation o yung mga ano natin, foreign corporation, tinatax na lang yan within the Philippines only. So dapat alamin natin yung dividend income na na-earn talaga dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, kapag outside the Philippines, then ang naka-receive sa foreign corporation, wag mo nang pansinin yun kasi tinataksa lang ang mga foreign corporation within the Philippines only. Okay po. So, the humble opinion of the author on the proper interpretation of the foregoing provisions are as follows. So, sabi dito, kapag dividend income from domestic corporation, income derived purely from Philippine sources. Tama naman yan. So, dividend income from foreign corporation, resident or non-resident, diba? No distinction provided in the provision kasi foreign corporation siya. So, ito na yung dapat gamitin. Hanapin natin ratio or yung percentage ng gross income derived from Philippines over gross income from all sources for the past 3 years or for such part of such period as the corporation has been in existence is, una, kapag less than 50%, purely derived from abroad or outside the Philippines. So, na-earn yan outside the Philippines. At least 50% or more, di ba? Considered as partly derived from sources from Philippines and abroad. Okay po. So, yan. Kasi dati, before the create law, ginagawa pa kasi yan kapag less than 50 ang approach niyan before the create law, kapag yung ratio ng gross income Philippine over gross income world is less than 50%, so automatic the 100% of that dividend income is na earned outside the Philippines. Tama? Okay. However, kapag 50% or more, tama? So, whatever the percentage you computed, like for example, yung ratio niya is from gross income Philippine over gross income world is 80%. Then the dividend income is 100%, is 100,000. So the 100,000 dividend, 'di ba? Kasi partly within and partly without. 80% yung na-compute natin dun sa ratio. So i-multiply natin. So the 80,000 pesos will be considered as dividend that derived here in the Philippines and that 20,000 is derived abroad. Okay, yun yung approach under and before the create law. Okay, however, because of the create law, minadali na lang yan, para di na ma-confuse. So, kapag after computing the ratio of gross income Philippine over in gross income world, di ba, kung more than 50% or 50 or more, automatic, ano na yan, the whole amount, yung sample ko kanina, yung 100,000, yun na yung dividend na na-income na na-earn here in the Philippines. Okay? So, no need for you to multiply it on whatever ratio you computed. Hindi na. Automatic 100% na kaagad yun. Okay? Sabi pa dito, however, due to recent yung Revenue Regulation 5-21, yan. Then Revenue Memorandum Circular 62-2021, ito yung approach ni Bureau of Internal Revenue. So, for the purpose of determining the situs of dividend income derived by a domestic corporation from foreign corporation, the situs shall be determined as follows. So, sabi dito, kapag yung dividend daw is from non-resident foreign corporation, considered as entirely foreign source dividend. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, dito kapag ang naka-receive is a domestic corporation, then ang nag-issue po is a non-resident foreign corporation. So, considered yon yung dividend na yon foreign source dividend. Tama? Yan. So, general rule natin, it will be subject to regular corporate income tax kasi ang naka-receive domestic corporation. Tama? However, pwede siyang ma-exempt kapag na-comply yung tatlong item, yung kanina. Okay, una, nagkaroon ng reinvestment. Yung dividend income na na-receive niya nire-invest niya doon sa business operation. Tama? Pangalawa, di ba kapag ginamit niya doon sa as a working capital, yan, o ginamit niya sa business activities, yan, yung source, yung dividend income na yun, yan. Tapos pangatlo, at least yung domestic corporation na yun, at least 20% na outstanding shares ay hawak niya. Okay, yun yung tatlong requirement. Okay po. So, pwede ma-exempt kapag na-comply nyo yung tatlong requirement. But the general rule, subject yun sa regular corporate income tax. Kasi, ang nag-issue po, non-resident foreign corporation. Okay po. So, dividend from resident foreign corporation may be considered income which is entirely received from Philippine sources or foreign source depending on the following. O, ito na yung ruling. Okay po. So, very clear na sa atin. Okay? So, regardless kasi kung sino nakatanggap naman dito. Okay? Basta, ang nag-issue, resident foreign corporation. So, dapat alamin natin, di ba, kung yung, kanina yung ratio ng gross income Philippine over gross income world. Yan. Kapag less than 50%, consider as entirely derived from abroad. Tama. At least 50%, consider as entirely derived from the Philippines. Tama. So, ang pinagkaiba lang nito nung create law patungkol dun sa thesis dun sa dating approach is that ano na, yung basta foreign corporation, regardless kung non-resident foreign corporation or resident foreign corporation, automatic, ang rule na gagamitin natin is yung less than 50% or 50% or more. Yung gross income Philippine over gross income world. Okay? Yan. Yung dati yun before the create law. However, at the same time pala, kapag 50% or more, alamin natin yung partly na-derive dun sa Pilipinas at partly na-derive outside the Philippines patungkol dun sa dividend. Diba? So, whatever the percentage you computed, as long as it is 50% or more, yan, imumultiply mo yun sa dividend income. Kung 80% yung na-compute mo, then 100% yung dividend income, imumultiply mo sa 80% para makuha mo yung mismong dividend income na derive dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Yan. However, here, under create law, yan, pinasimple na siya. Kapag yung dividend income daw is ang nag-issue is non-resident foreign corporation, automatic, yung the entirely foreign source dividend na siya. So, consider as entirely foreign source dividend. So, no need for you to consider the rules na gross income Philippine over gross income world. Hindi na kasi 100% foreign source dividend na yun kasi ang nag-issue ng dividend is non-resident foreign corporation. Okay? Pero kung ang nag-issue ng dividend is a resident foreign corporation, di ba? Regardless kung sino nakatanggap, tama? Yan. Tama ba? For the purposes of determining the size of dividend income received by a domestic corporation from foreign corporation. Okay, so here, yan, i-consider natin yung dito, yung ratio ng gross income Philippine over gross income world. Okay, dito, entirely na. So, 100% kapag na-compute mo dito, 50% or more, so the 100% of the dividend income will be considered as dividend income na na-earn dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? So, sa problem natin, non-resident foreign corporation. Tama? So, ano yan? Entirely foreign source dividend kasi ang nag-issue is a non-resident foreign corporation. Sino ba yung taxpayer? Resident corporation. Okay, so ano yan? Okay, so resident corporation. So, confusing siya. Ano yan? Resident foreign corporation tinutukoy dito ha. Kasi naglagay na siya ng resident. Okay? So, here, Ang non-resident foreign corporation, di ba? Ano yan? Entirely foreign source dividend. Oo. Ay, tama ba?
Magkakaroon ng problema sa bidders and at the same time.
Oo, kasi, okay, wait lang ha. 2019 siya. Di ba? 2019.
Ibig sabihin, saan naman
Tama.
ang mga best?
So, kung 2019 yan, so, hindi siya under create law. So, the non-resident foreign corporation yung nag-issue ng dividend at ang naka-receive is a resident foreign corporation. Sakat, di ba, hindi natin ma-identify dito yung partly within and partly without. Tama, kasi hindi niya sinabi yung percentage. Tama. So, as a result, itong 500,000 na yan, ano yan, foreign source dividend. Okay? So, paano ba tinataksa ng resident foreign corporation? Within the Philippines only. Sakat yung 500,000 is foreign source dividend. So, hindi yan included sa taxable taxable income niya. At the same time, hindi rin yan subject sa final withholding tax. Kasi ang final withholding tax dapat ay na-earn dito sa Pilipinas para maging subject sa final withholding tax. Next, Intel, a resident foreign corporation, the ratio of Philippine income over world income for the past 3 years was 40%. 40% daw yung Philippine income over world income. So, sabihin, it is also foreign source dividend din siya. Okay, so na-earn yan outside the Philippines. So, hindi yan subject sa final withholding tax. At the same time, sa income tax, sa taxable gross income ni resident foreign corporation, hindi yan included kasi foreign source dividend yan. Next, Panday, a domestic corporation. Okay? So, the 300,000, diba, ang naka-receive is ang naka-receive is a resident foreign corporation. Then, ang nag-issue domestic corporation, the 300,000 exempted kasi intercorporate dividend yan. Just like sa domestic corporation to domestic corporation, yan, intercorporate dividend yan. So, within, internal transaction yan. So, exempted po yun. Next, interest income from, current account BDO. Subject yan sa 20% final withholding tax. Okay? The savings deposit, UK siya. Tama. So, okay, so nasa ibang bansa yung deposit niya, nasa United Kingdom. Paano ba tinataksan ang resident foreign corporation within the Philippines only? Sakat yung bank deposit na yun, nasa United Kingdom, di natin matataksan yun. FCDU deposits, 800,000. So, here, automatic, nandito yan sa Pilipinas. Okay, kasi hindi naman sinabi na outside the Philippines. So, sa Pilipinas yan. So, the 800,000, saka 2019 siya, trained law, di ba? Kapag FCDU, kapag domestic corporation, 15%. Kapag resident foreign corporation, 15%. Kapag non-resident foreign corporation, kapag resident foreign corporation, 7.5%. Okay. Then kapag non-resident foreign corporation, 30%. Kasi before create law. Okay? Yan. So, 7.5 yung ginamit. The next, royalty income from various domestic corporations. Tinutukoy dito royalty income naman. So, subject yan sa 20% final withholding tax. So, the answer is 200,000 pesos. Paano daw? Under create law. So, kung under create law yan, ang nagbago lang naman dyan is yung interest income, FCDU deposits, kasi from 7.5, naging 15% kapareho na nung domestic corporation. Okay po. So, 90, a domestic, ABC Corporation, a domestic corporation. Okay, ito naman, first point of view ni domestic corporation. Paano ba tinataksan yan? Within the Philippines only. Okay, ang tinatanong, final withholding tax. Okay po. Okay, so non-resident foreign corporation yung dividend. Ang nag-issue, NRFC, then ang naka-receive domestic corporation. Diba? This dividend income will never be subject to final withholding tax. Kasi, ano yan, considered yan as a foreign source dividend. So, na-earn yan outside the Philippines. Okay? However, sa yung taxpayer natin is a domestic corporation, tinataksan niya within and outside the Philippines. So, although it is a foreign source dividend, it is included pa rin sa taxable gross income ni domestic corporation. Kasi tinataksan yan within and outside the Philippines. Okay? Then, a resident foreign corporation, sabi dito, dividend within. So, na-earn yan dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? So, that 325,000, dito, subject yan sa, included yan sa taxable gross income na subject sa regular corporate income tax. Okay po. Yan. Sabi to, dividend income, tax tech, resident foreign corporation. Okay. Automatic dividend within. Okay. So, under trained law or before the create law. Okay po. Yan. And also, di ba, kung napansin nyo, okay, tama, kung napansin nyo, ang tinutukoy natin dito, domestic corporation. Tama. Okay. However, sa individual taxation, di ba, di ba, ang dividend income is subject to final withholding tax yan na 10, 20, 25%. Tama? So, huwag kayong malito ha. Iba yung approach sa individual taxation sa domestic corporation. So, sa domestic corporation, hindi yan subject sa final withholding tax. Okay po, it's either exempt or subject sa regular corporate income tax. So, here, kasi within the Philippines na yan, at na-receive kay resident foreign corporations, automatic the 325,000 will be included sa taxable gross income, okay, and subject to regular corporate income tax. Isabela Corporation, domestic corporation, so domestic corporation to domestic corporation, exempted po yan, and for corporate dividend. Okay po. Then, interest income from current BPI, subject sa final withholding tax, kasi within the Philippines yan, 20%. Tama. Then, savings deposit, United Overseas Bank, Singapore. Sa ibang bansa yan, tama. Hindi yan magiging subject sa final withholding tax kasi na-earn yan outside the Philippines. Okay, however, the taxpayer is a domestic corporation, included pa rin po yan sa taxable gross income po ni domestic corporation na subject sa regular corporate income tax. Then, the US dollar deposit, FCDU, Metrobank Makati. Metrobank Makati, so dito sa Pilipinas yan. E sakat yung deposit niya is under foreign currency deposit unit. Okay? So, subject yan sa final withholding tax na 15%. Okay po. Then, the royalty income from various domestic corporations, so same lang, subject yan sa 20%. So, the final withholding tax is 145,000. Okay, paano daw kapag under create law? Yan. So, kung under create law, yan. So, kung under create law, ang pinagkaiba lang nila is, i-consider mo na yung tatlong requirement, di ba, regardless sa dividend, ang nakareceive kasi is domestic corporation. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Wendell.
Yan.
Thank you.
Isa-isahin natin. Okay.
Let us proceed to the next.
Yung una, non-resident foreign corporations, automatic, included pa rin yan sa RCIT. Okay, RCIT. So, next, dividend income from Foxtech, a resident foreign corporation, dividend within, tama? So, to 325,000. Diba? Under the create law, tama? Kapag ang received domestic corporation, then ang nag-issue ng dividend is a resident foreign corporation. Okay, then dividend within din siya. So automatic, exempted po yun. Consider nyo as intercorporate dividend. Okay? Yun yung under create law. But under the train law or before the create law, the approach is kapag ang nag-issue is no, dividend income is a resident foreign corporation, you must identify diba, muna yung within, ID mo na as long as yung ang taxpayer sa domestic corporation, no need for you to identify kung within or outside the Philippines yung gross Philippine income or gross Philippine world. Kasi nga, ang naka-receive is a domestic corporation, then it is under the trade law or before the create law. Okay, however, under create law, yan, kapag ang nag-issue ng dividend is a resident foreign corporation, then ang naka-receive is a domestic corporation, ano yan, that will be exempted because dahil i-consider na yun as intercorporate dividend. Okay? Yan. As long as yung source dividend na yon is dito sa Pilipinas. Kaya nakalagay sa dividend within, exempted na yun. Okay? Pero kung nilagay dito, 80% of the gross Philippine income over the gross Philippine world is 80%. So, ano siya? Dividend within pa rin siya kasi more than 50% or 50% or more siya. Pero kung ang ratio is 49%, so foreign source dividend siya. Tama? And it will never be exempted. Oo, kasi ang naka-receive domestic corporation, then the ratio is below 50%. Foreign source dividend siya. So, included yun sa regular corporate income tax. Okay? So, tama siya, exempted. So, dividend income, Isabela, domestic corporation, intercorporate dividend yan. Okay? Exempted din yan. The interest income, BPI, same din, 20%, 20% yung final. Diba? So, yan. Then, interest income, United Overseas Bank Singapore, ganun din yung approach, RCIP. The US dollar, FCDU, Metro Bank, within the Philippines, 15%, subject sa final withholding tax. Royalty income, 20%, within the Philippines, so subject sa final withholding tax. Oh, same answer siya. The only difference is the treatment of dividend income from foreign corporation. Okay, so, yan. Be familiar with the approach of dividend income. So, kapag under train law, iba rin sa under create law. Okay? Yan. One of the approach baga sa ang pinagkaiba lang is kapag ang nag-issue is a foreign corporation. Tama? So, under the what do you call this? Under the train law, kapag ang nag-issue po is a foreign corporation, yan, dapat alamin mo yung gross ratio ng gross income Philippine over gross income world yung nag-issue ng dividend. Okay po? Yan. Then kapag 50%, pag less than 50%, automatic, the entire amount is a foreign source dividend. So, na-earn yan outside the Philippines. Kapag 50% or more under the trade law or before the create law, yan, partly within and partly without siya, 50% or more. So, whatever the ratio you computed, as long as 50% or more, diba, imamultiply mo muna yun sa dividend income. Kasi partly with, para malaman mo yung partly within, then partly without, or outside the Philippines. Okay? Yan. However, under create law, okay, ang i-consider nyo, is same rin yung kapag, same din with the trade law, kapag ang nag-issue sa domestic corporation. So, within the Philippines yun. Okay? So, kapag DC to DC, intercorporate dividend siya, same with the trade law, exempted din under the create law. Okay po? However, okay, kapag ang nag-issue is a resident foreign corporation, then ang naka-receive is a domestic corporation, under the create law or under the train law, um, kahit hindi mo na-identify yung ratio niya. Kasi nga, automatic, uh, the gross, kasi di ba tinataksan ang domestic corporation within and outside the Philippines. Tama? Eh kung ang nag-issue is a resident foreign corporation, di ba? Whatever the, kung yung dividend income na yun is kung saan man niya na-earn, tama, nung nag-issue ng dividend, regardless, no? Oo. Kasi tinataksan baga ang domestic corporation within and outside the Philippines. So, no need for knowing or to identify the ratio. Kasi tinataksan po ang domestic corporation within and outside the Philippines, tama, under the train law. Okay? So, no need under the train law. However, okay, under the create law, i-consider pa rin natin yung ratio no gross income Philippine over gross income world. Kasi nga, kapag foreign source dividend siya, automatic, ano yan, at ang nakareceive po is a domestic corporation, so, automatic, the 100% of the dividend income will be subject to regular corporate income tax. Okay? However, kapag kapag 50% or more, 'di ba? Yung ratio niya ng gross income Philippine over gross income world, automatic, ano yan, exempted na yun. Considered as intercorporate dividend kasi resident foreign corporation yung nag-issue, ang naka-receive is domestic corporation. Okay? Yan yung pinagkaiba ng create law sa train law. Sa train law, never yun magiging exempted, okay, sa under the train law. Resident foreign corporation to domestic corporation. No. Okay, the entire amount will always be subject to resident corporate income tax. However, under the create law, ano yan? I-consider mo yung kung foreign source dividend ba o hindi. Kasi kapag hindi siya foreign source dividend, magiging exempted yan. Pero kapag foreign source dividend, yung dividend na yun, automatic, yun ay subject sa regular corporate income tax. Okay po. Kapag non-resident foreign corporation naman, yung nag-issue, be familiar with the ratio. Yan. So, that's the end of my discussion class. So, wait lang. Okay? So, here, saan tayo? Okay, so 96. Diba? Tinatanong, how much final tax shall be withheld by the corporation? So, dito, ang ibig sabihin, ang magwi-withheld no mga income na yan, yung mga dividends na yan, ay yun mismo nagbayad, which is yung corporation na tinutukoy dito. Tama? Sabi ko nga, di ba dati, ang purpose ng final withholding tax is ang magwi-withheld nung applicable tax amount dun sa passive income na yun ay yung nagbayad. Tama? Then, ang matatanggap na lang nung naka-earn ng dividend na yun or nung income na yun ay net of final withholding tax. Okay? Kasi yung nagbayad, siya yung mag-remit kay Bureau of Internal Revenue. Okay? As a result, we also know that final withholding tax is a final payment on that particular income. So, yung naka-receive nung passive income na yun, there's no need for him or her or the corporation to include that passive income on his, her, or the corporation's taxable income. Oo, hindi na kailangan. Kasi nga, ang nagbayad na noon, na withheld na po nung nagbayad sa kanya. So, no need for the um, nakatanggap na ilagay pa sa kanyang taxable income. Diba? Ulit-ulit ko nga sinabi, diba, may apat na uri ng income tax. Diba? Una, ordinary income. Yung mga ordinary income na yan, subject to basic income tax. Okay? Ano ba yung mga ordinary income na yan na included po sa taxable income or taxable gross income ni taxpayer? Oo. Yung mga income na yan, as long as hindi mo ma-identify dun sa tatlong uri pa ng income tax, una is yung, aside from ordinary income, meron yung final withholding tax. So, yung mga income na subject sa final withholding tax. Okay, usually mga passive income yan. Tama? So, yung mga passive income na subject sa final withholding tax, final payment na yan. So, wini-withheld na po nung nagbayad yung applicable income tax patungkol sa income na yun. Okay, so siya yung magpa-file sa BAR, then siya yung mag-remit nung tax na yun, income tax na yun, because it is subject to final withholding tax. So as a result, yung binayaran o yung nakatanggap ng income na yun, hindi na dapat niya kailangan ilagay sa taxable gross income niya. Bakit? Kasi po, bayad na po yun. Subject na po yun sa final withholding tax. Diba? From the term itself, final, ibig sabihin, final payment na yun on that particular income. So, no need to include that final withholding, that income na subject sa final withholding tax sa kanyang taxable gross income. Okay? So, next, yung capital gains. Capital gains on selling of shares, domestic shares, shares of domestic corporation, not locally traded to Philippine Stock Exchange or directly to a buyer. Diba? Yan naman, subject sa capital gains tax. Okay? So, 15% of capital gain. So, as a result, hindi na po dapat ilagay yung mga income na subject na sa capital gains tax. Kasi po, separate and in filing na yan. Ibang BIR form yung gagamitin. Okay? Yan. So, hindi na yung dapat i-include sa taxable gross income po ni taxpayer. Yung mga capital gain from selling of domestic shares na traded to local stock exchange or directly to the buyer. Okay, yan. Hindi na po kailangan include yan sa taxable gross income ng taxpayer. Okay? And also yung capital gains tax in selling of under corporation, selling of land or building. So under individual taxpayer, selling of real properties, di ba? Yan. Yung mga capital gain na yan yung mga hindi in-inventaryo, hindi ginagamit sa business. Okay? At the same time, hindi yan aligned or nature ng business na ibenta yung mga properties na yan o anumang item na yan. Okay? As long as it doesn't involve in the business activities, consider yun as capital gain, ay capital asset. Okay? So sa capital, CGT, in selling of real properties under individual taxation and selling of land or building under corporation, yan ay mga subject sa capital gains tax. So 6% higher between the selling price or the per market value. And the per market value included yung assessor's value o yung market value na binigay ni city assessors, provincial assessors. Then yung zonal value. Yung zonal value binibigay yun ng Bureau of Internal Revenue. Okay po. Yan. So, whichever is higher, yun yung magiging per market value. Then, i-compare mo naman sa selling price ng real property. So, whichever is higher, yun yung magiging tax base. Then, multiply it by 6% para makuha mo yung capital gains tax on sale of real properties. So, yan. So, yung sa tatlong binanggit ko, once na applicable na yung income tax na yun, patungkol sa income na yun, huwag mo na ilagay sa taxable gross income. Okay? No need na. Kasi po, bayad na po yung income tax niya. Okay? It's either capital gains tax or final withholding tax. Okay? Ang mga included lang po sa taxable gross income, yung mga ordinary income na you cannot include on those kind of income tax. Okay? So here sa 95, ang point of view is yung corporation. Yung corporation dito, siya yung nagbayad ng dividend sa iba't ibang uri ng um, taxpayers or iba't ibang uri ng shareholders. Okay? Yung una, di ba? Di ba ang point of view dito, ang nagwi-withheld ng dividend income o yung mga passive income ay yung mismong nagbayad ng income. Okay? So dito yung domestic corporation kasi siya yung corporation na involved, siya yung nag-issue ng dividends. So una is 2021. So under create law yan. So una, to Apple, a resident citizen, yan. So yung una kasi, 'di ba? Ang taxpayer dito is yung resident citizen. Siya yung nakatanggap ng dividend. Okay? So, yung nagbayad, yung nag-issue ng dividend ay yung domestic corporation. So, if you remember, di ba, kapag ang nakatanggap ng dividend is a resident citizen, okay, from a domestic corporation, it is subject to 10% final withholding tax. Okay? So, 10% final withholding tax. So, 100,000 times 10% final withholding tax, 10,000 pesos. Okay? Pangalawa naman, to Alex, a non-resident citizen, 100,000 pesos. So, based on the individual taxation, kapag ang naka-receive daw is a non-resident citizen, at ang nag-issue sa domestic corporation ng dividend, so subject rin yun sa 10% final withholding tax. So 100,000 times 10% final withholding tax, 10,000 pesos. To George, a residence alien, so same rin, procedure, di ba? Lahat ng citizen or alien, yan, subject yan sa final withholding tax na 10% under individual tax taxation. Okay? So, resident alien, 100,000, same lang, 10% din. Okay? So, 10,000. Then, LJ, a non-resident alien engaged in trade in the, in trade in the Philippines. So, di ba, under individual taxation, subject yan sa final withholding tax na how much? 20% kasi non-resident alien yan engage in trade or business. Okay, so 20% siya. Let's multiply the tax base na 100,000 yung na-receive niya, di ba? O yung i-issue ni corporation na dividend, so 20,000 pesos. The next to Francis, non-resident alien not engaged in trade or business in the Philippines. So, subject yan sa final withholding tax, di ba? Anong tax rate na gagamitin? 25%. So, subject din yan sa final withholding tax. So, 100,000 times 25%, 25,000. To Chen, domestic corporation. Diba? Under create law, ang domestic, ang nag-issue kasi ng dividend is a domestic corporation. And it was received by the domestic corporation. So, there is what you call intercorporate dividend. And the term intercorporate dividend means it's just only an internal transaction. So why? So it is exempted from income tax. Kasi ano siya, internal transaction lang. Parang binigay lang yung income na yan as a dividend, diba? Corporation to corporation. Diba? So internal transaction lang siya. So as a result, exempted po yan sa income tax. Okay? Or sa final withholding tax. Okay po, so exempted yan. Then, to a resident foreign corporation. Okay? So, dito, under create law kasi, you must identify, diba? Ay, diba kasi ang point of view nito is that yung issue ng dividend, kung magwi-withheld ba o hindi. Okay? Isa ka to a resident foreign corporation yan. Okay, so under the create law, yan, kung under the create law, it is also considered as a intercorporate dividend, so exempted na po yan. Kapag ang nag-issue, domestic corporation, then ang naka-receive is a resident foreign corporation, okay? So there is no withholding of taxes, as well as it is not included in the taxable gross income of the shareholder or the resident foreign corporation. So exempted din po yan. Okay? To a non-resident foreign corporation with tax-paying. So ibig sabihin ng tax-paying, itong non-resident sa bansa kung saan nanggaling itong non-resident foreign corporation na to, once na yung Philippine domestic corporation ay nagkaroon ng income din sa bansa na yan, kung saan siya nanggaling, is mababa sa 25% na tax rate, automatic, bibigyan natin yan ng mababang tax rate, which is yung 15% as a tax sparing. Okay? Yan. So, 100,000 times 15%, 15,000 yung i-withheld. So, a total of 90,000 pesos. And also, 90,000 pesos. Ibig sabihin, na ma-withheld ng 90,000 pesos ay si domestic corporation na nag-issue ng dividend dun sa mga shareholders niya. Okay? So, siya yung magpa-file sa Bureau of Internal Revenue, di ba? And siya rin mag-limit ng bayad kasi siya yung nag-withheld no taxes patungkol sa mga income na yan. Okay? So, sa point of view naman nung naka-receive nung dividend, yan ay net of final withholding tax na. Kasi nga, winheld na po nung nagbayad. So, ang naka-receive, net of final withholding tax na yan. And, as what I said earlier, if the income is already subjected to final withholding tax, the taxpayer must not include that income on his or her or its income tax return or dun sa kanyang taxable gross income. Kasi subject na po sa final withholding tax. Okay? So, 96, the share of co-venture corporations, the net income after tax of a joint venture or consortium taxable as a corporation is okay. So, ang sagot po, letter dog, exempt from income tax. Okay? Bakit? So, dito, ang point kasi dyan, ang point venturer, di ba, corporation yan. Tama? Then, usually, after deducting the tax, okay, so usually, yung net income niya, yun yung usually na dinidistribute o ini-issue as a dividend sa mga shareholders. Tama? So, di ba, as a dividend yun for the purpose of issuing a dividend, di ba? So, hindi yan magiging hindi na yung magiging subject sa income tax o exempted na po yun. Okay? Then, tingnan muna natin yung kung sino yung co-venturer dun sa joint venture na yan. Tama? So, dito, ang co-venturer is a corporation. Tama? Tama. So, kung dividend ay i-issue ni joint venture dun sa mga co-venturer niya, as if na nagkaroon ng aniyan. Di ba yung sample ko kanina, na ang nag-issue ng dividend is a domestic corporation. Then, ang naka-receive is also a domestic corporation. So, katulad rin yan. Intercorporate dividend yan. So, exempted po yan. Okay po. Yan. Pero, kapag ang co-venturer na isang joint venture ay individual taxpayer, yan, iba naman yung approach. Ang approach dyan, magiging subject na yun sa final withholding tax as a dividend income issued by the joint venture to the co-venturer as a individual taxpayer. Okay, so huwag kayo malito. Ang approach sa corporation regarding sa dividend, it's either lang yan, exempted or subject sa regular corporate income tax. Okay? Usually, under the CREATE law, pag domestic to domestic yung dividend income, intercorporate dividend yan. As well as yung resident foreign corporation, ang nag-issue is a resident foreign corporation to domestic corporation. Yan ay exempted din. It is considered as intercorporate dividend. Okay, yun ang general rule. Okay, however, 'di ba? Um 'Di ba? Ang nag-issue kasi as a resident foreign corporation. Tama? So, 'di ba? Are you familiar with the proportion ng gross income Philippine over gross income world prior to the 3-year period um, prior to the the date of issuance of the dividend. Diba? So, kung yung gross Philippine billing, gross income Philippine over gross income world, ang ratio niya, ang nakuha nyo is less than 50%, ibig sabihin, yung dividend income na yon is a foreign source dividend. Ibig sabihin, na-earn yun outside the Philippines. Okay po. So, kung outside the Philippines yan, tama, ang nag-issue is a resident foreign corporation, then ang naka-receive is domestic corporation, based on the ratio, foreign source dividend siya, diba? Paano ba tinataksa ng domestic corporation yung naka-receive ng dividend income? Diba? Within and without the Philippines. Tama. So, kung within or without the Philippines yan, foreign source dividend yung dividend income na yun. So, na-earn siya outside the Philippines. Automatic yun ay included sa taxable gross income ni domestic corporation. Okay? Pero, kung dun sa ratio nakuha mo 50% or more, ibig sabihin, yung dividend na yun is na-earn dito sa Pilipinas. So, kung dito sa na-earn sa Pilipinas, yung dividend income na yan, di ba? At nanggaling yan sa resident foreign corporation at ang naka-receive ay domestic corporation, so automatic yan ay intercorporate dividend yan. Okay? So, exempted po yun. Okay? Yan. Yun yung under CREATE law. So, here, a simple guide po, kapag taxable, Hindi ko mabasa. Ayan, kapag taxable joint venture, tapos ang co-venturer is corporation, yan, automatic tax exempt yan. Okay? Kapag yung joint venture corporation is a domestic corporation, yan, yun ay exempted. Then ang shareholders or ang co-venturer is also a domestic corporation, exempted po yan. Okay? Pero kapag yung joint venture is a tax-exempt joint venture, so ibig sabihin ng yan, magiging pag na-distribute na yung income na yun, yung share ng mga co-venturer sa income, included po yan sa personal income tax return ng bawat co-venturer. O kaya nga naging subject okay. So, yun, magiging subject yun sa income tax ng bawat co-venturer. Okay? Diba? Na-visualize nyo. So, kapag tax exempt na yung joint venture, wala nang babayarang income tax. However, yung share ng bawat co-venturer sa income dun sa joint venture, diba? Yun yung magiging subject sa income tax. Pero kanya-kanyang bayad. So, halimbawa, si letter A, ang interest niya dun sa income ng joint venture, diba? Nung non-taxable joint venture is 50%. So, sabihin natin ang net income niya ang net income ng joint venture na yun is after deducting the tax is 100,000 pesos. So, yung 100,000 pesos, Ay, sorry. Dahil nga, non-tax joint siya, ay non-tax joint venture siya, or venture, di ba? So, wala na after tax yun. Di ba? Hindi na yun subject sa income tax, yung joint venture na mismo. Okay? So, kung hindi siya taxable, pero yung kanya i-distribute na income ng joint venture dun sa mga co-venturer, yan yung magiging subject sa income tax. Oo. No, income tax na bawat co-venturer. So, kanya-kanyang file na po. So, kung 100,000 pesos yun, di ba? So, multiply by 50%, sabihin natin yung share niya dun sa income ng joint venture. So, yung co-venturer na yun, sabihin natin corporation yun, so, yun yung magiging subject sa regular corporate income tax. Included po yun sa taxable gross income, okay, ng bawat co-venturer. Okay, so the other 50% ay dun sa, dun sa another co-venturer. Okay? So, personal, yun, personal paying of income tax na yun. Kasi in-include na sa kanya-kanyang taxable gross income. Yung kanilang share of net income dun sa non-taxable joint venture. Okay po. So here, the share of co-venturer corporation in the net income of a tax-exempt joint venture or consortium is is subject to regular corporate income tax. Tama. Kasi ang tinutukoy kasi yung income daw dun sa yung share ng co-venturer dun sa net income ng tax-exempt joint venture or consortium will be subject to regular corporate income tax. Okay? So, kanya-kanyang bayad. Kasi kanya-kanyang included din sa personal, personal taxable gross income ng bawat co-venturer. Okay po? So, the capital gains tax, yan. There is no rule income tax if there is no income. Which of the following is exception? Yan, exception, letter A. Okay po. Kasi yung letter A, capital gains tax on sale of land and or building. Okay? Magiging subject yan sa final withholding tax. Tama. So, yan. Yung letter B naman, capital gains tax on sale of share of stock outside the local stock exchange. Okay. Yan. Letter C, tax on the passive income, subject sa final withholding tax yan. Letter D, regular corporate income tax. Oo, kapag tax exempt na siya, hindi na siya subject sa regular corporate income tax. Okay po, so the best answer is letter A. Kasi yung letter A, di ba, based on the formula natin, 6% of of higher between the selling price and the fair market value. Okay? So, don't be confused. Kahit sinabing capital gains tax yan, diba? Based on the formula, you are not required to deduct the cost of the land or building dun sa selling price para makuha mo yung capital gains. No need na. Kasi nga, ang tax base natin is the selling price or the fair market value. Okay? Compared to letter B, gains talaga yan. So yung selling price or fair market, yung selling price ng shares less the cost of shares para makuha mo yung gain. Okay? Then you can multiply it na by the 15% CGT rate. Okay? Compared to letter A, hindi na. Kasi ang tax base niya is selling price or fair market value. Okay? So, 99, how much the income tax applicable on the transaction? Okay? So, saan tayo? Fair market, nagbenta daw si corporation ng lot. Capital asset siya. Okay? Then, how much is the income tax applicable? As you can see, based on our formula, 6% higher multiplied by the whichever is higher between the selling price and the fair market value. And the fair market value is based on the assessor's value, and the zonal value. Assessor's value binibigay ng city assessor or provincial assessor. Samantalang yung, what they call this, zonal value is will be provided by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So whichever has higher, yung pipili na sa fair market value. Then after knowing the highest fair market value, compare naman yun sa selling price. Pipiliin yung pinakamataas. Yan. So based on this problem, di ba? Fair market tax was 12 million while its zonal value is 15 million. Ang mataas, 15 million yung zonal value na galing kay Bureau of Internal Revenue. So, 15 million magiging tax base. Then, multiply by the 6% CGT rate. Okay, so 900,000 yung babayaran. Okay po. Always remember that the fair market value dahil walang dapat yan applicable sa capital gains tax o selling of land or building sa corporation. Okay, o kaya selling of real property sa under individual taxpayer, which is the zonal value and the assessor value. Okay? Yung independent appraisal value, hindi po rin ini-include kahit kahit mataas yung magiging value niyan kasi dalawa lang naman yung kinukonsider. Okay? So, based on the preceding number, if the buyer of the property is the Philippine government or GOCC, what type of income tax will apply on the transaction? So, kapag ang nagbenta po is a corporation and ang transaction niya is a Philippine government or a GOCC, wala po siyang option kung ang pipiliin niya. Diba? Compared to individual taxpayer, may option siya. It's either basic income tax or capital gains tax. But, if ang nagbenta ay isang korporasyon sa Philippine government, wala siyang option na yun. Always, subject to capital gains tax. So, 101, letter A, basic income tax. Kasi di ba ang ika-capital gains tax mo na yan, then the final withholding tax ay dapat na-earn dito sa Pilipinas o kaya kapag property, dapat located dito sa Pilipinas para maging subject sa capital gains tax. Okay po. Yan. So, kapag meron kang property sa ibang bansa and you are, sabi natin, corporation is a domestic corporation, di ba tinataksan yan within and outside the Philippines? Sakat may property siya sa ibang bansa, then binenta niya sa ibang bansa. So, whatever the gain of the transaction of selling of, sabi natin, lote, binenta niya doon. So, included yun sa taxable gross income po ni domestic corporation. Okay po. Hindi na yung magiging subject sa capital gains tax. Kasi po, magiging subject na yun sa capital gains tax kapag located dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? Kasi hindi na hawak wala nang jurisdiction sa Philippine government sa lahat ng property outside the Philippines. O, ang may kapangyarihan siyang taksan lang ay yung mga dito sa Pilipinas. Okay po. However, sakat ang domestic corporation ay tinataksan, diba, within and outside the Philippines, so may karapatan pa din si Philippine government na taksan yung taxpayer na yun. Kasi domestic corporation siya. Okay po, 102. The fair market value of the said property per tax declaration was 12 million. How much is CGT? Kasi ang sinasabi dito, foreign corporation siya. Okay? Sold a condominium unit. Diba? Ang specific kasi doon, land and or building. Tama. Will be basic income tax. Okay. Then, land on or building. Tama. And also, pag nagbebenta ng gano'n, yung land or building, dapat domestic corporation siya. Okay? Yan. Domestic corporation. So here, foreign corporation siya. Tama? So, kapag foreign corporation yan, di ba? Regardless kung resident or non-resident, as long as a foreign corporation, it will not be subjected to capital gains tax. Okay, kahit nandito pa sa Pilipinas yung property na yan. Okay? So here, the capital gains tax is 0. However, or nil, or not applicable. However, um, the capital gain will be included on the taxable gross income po ni foreign corporation. Okay, so magkano ba binenta? 10 million. Okay, acquired at 5 million. So, the selling price less the cost of the property. So, nagkaroon siya ng capital gain na 5 million. So, yung 5 million na yun will be included in the taxable gross income po ni foreign corporation. Yan. Okay po. So, 104 na tayo. Assuming capital gains tax. So, say, selling of shares. Okay po. So, yan. Wait lang ha, at malulubat ako. Okay, so saan tayo? 104 na tayo. So, 2019. So, under, ano yan? Under train law yan, or before the create law. Okay? So, the capital gains tax, or in selling of shares of domestic corporation. So, hanapin natin yung mismong capital gain. So, the selling price less the cost of the shares para makuha mo yung capital gain, then multiplied by 15%. Okay po. So, okay, so here, the selling price 250,000, then less the cost of the share 100,000. So, 150 po yung magiging tax base. Multiply by the 15%, yan, 22,500. Okay po. So, don't be confused. Kapag tinutukoy is ang binibenta is shares of domestic corporation, tama? Then, yung isa namang CGT is selling of real properties or land or building. Tama? So, yung selling of real properties, capital asset yun. Tama? Then, ano pa ba? Capital asset siya. Capital gain siya. Pero, ang tax base baga natin is based on selling price or per market value. Okay? Compare here sa capital gains on selling of shares of domestic corporation. Talagang mismong capital gain. So, i-deduct mo yung cost ng shares dun sa selling price. Okay? So, huwag kayong malito. Hindi porket capital gains on selling of real property is hahanapin mo yung gains niya. Hindi. Based tayo dun sa formula. Ang formula baga ng CGT na real property is 6% multiplied by the higher between the selling price or per market value. However here, hanapin mo yung gain. Kasi selling of shares of domestic corporation. So sa 104, C yan. Okay? Get nyo lang yung capital gain, then multiply by 15%. Okay po. So, 2021, so under create yan, how much is the capital gains tax assuming the taxable year was 2021? Okay po. So, ano yan? Under create law. Tama? So, under create law, same with the, yan. Okay?
Okay, guys. So, any more questions?
Okay, same lang din yung process under the train law. Okay? What if yung shares nung kapag ang ibebentang share is came from closely held domestic corporation, both under train law and create law, 15% on CGT. 106, how much is the capital gains tax assuming the shares sold were shares of a foreign corporation and the sale was made during the effectivity of train law? Okay. Yan. Ito, nil, not applicable. Walang capital gains tax po yung mga shares ng foreign corporation. Di ba, specifically stated naman yun, dapat, pag nagbenta ka ng shares, dapat domestic corporation. Shares ng domestic corporation, at the same time, yun ay, hindi binenta sa stock exchange o kaya binenta directly to buyer. Okay, para maging subject sa capital gains tax. Okay, But here, first requirement pa lang, dapat shares daw ng domestic corporation. Yun na kaagad niya. Mali na kaagad. Shares of foreign corporation. So, nil siya, not applicable. Okay? So here, under the train law, the capital gain will be included on the taxable gross income of the taxpayer, subject to basic income tax, or under corporation, regular corporate income tax. Okay, so this is the guidelines regarding sa capital gains tax. Okay po. Yeah. Ito kasi ay prior to train law, ito ha, inyong approach. Okay, so first 100,000 capital gain. So multiply it by 500,000, tapos excess sa 100,000 will multiply by 10%. Then sum up mo lang, yun yung prior train law. But during the train law or under the train law, yung domestic corporation 15%. Okay po. Then the resident foreign corporation, yung excess, ito yung gagamitin, pareho lang ito. Okay. But under create law, pinasimplify na lahat na 15%, regardless kung anong uri ng taxpayer. Yun yung under the create law. Okay, 107, shares, magbenta daw ng shares of foreign corporation, not applicable sa capital gains tax. Letter D, dealer in securities. Ibig sabihin, nature ng kanyang business is nagbebenta talaga siya ng shares ng domestic corporation. So as a result, included yun sa taxable gross income po ni taxpayer. Hindi po siya subject sa capital gains tax. Bakit? Nature ng business niya part of the taxpayer's business activities as a dealer in securities. Okay. Yeah. So 109, assuming the taxable year was 2019, how much was the capital gains tax due? So under, train law. Okay po, resident foreign corporation siya, nagsold ng, pasok yun. Shares ng domestic corporation, pasok. Okay, then, were sold outside of the local stock exchange. Subject yan sa capital gains tax. Okay po. So, paano daw kung binenta yan through local stock exchange or not directly to a buyer? So, subject yun sa stock transaction tax. And stock transaction tax is 6/10 of 1%. Okay? Yan. More on focus sa business tax siya, hindi siya income tax. Okay po. So, here, under create law, capital gains tax due daw is 15,000. Okay? So, 500,000, the selling price less the cost of the shares, 300,000. Okay, so 200,000 yung capital gain niya. Okay po. Yan. However, di ba, under the train law siya. Okay? Then, resident foreign corporation yung uri ng taxpayer. Di ba? Based on our guideline, ang gagamitin is 5% and 10%. So, the first 100,000 multiplied by nakuha na yung capital gains tax, capital gains 200,000. So, the first 100,000 of 200,000 will be subject to 5% CGT, so 5,000. Then, excess, 200,000 less 100,000, so 100,000 din yung excess. Multiply it by 10%, so 10,000 yung capital gains tax niya. Okay? Then, of course, total mo yan. Ang total capital gains tax is 15,000 dahil under train mo yan, 2019. Okay, based on our guideline, di ba, nakalagay doon kapag RFC and NRFC, 5% and 10% yung gagamitin. Okay? What if under the create law, or multiply it the capital gains to 15%, fixed na yun, so 30,000. Okay po. Then, 111, a domestic corporation sold shares of stock of another domestic corporation for 250,000 through local stock exchange. Ibig sabihin, pumasok na sa binenta sa stock exchange. So, hindi, at the same time, hindi directly sa buyer. Okay? The shares were acquired in the net plus 100,000. Magkano din applicable tax due? So, So, applicable tax due dyan, hindi naman tinanong how much will be the capital gains tax. Kapag tinanong how much is the capital gains tax, nil. Nil yan, not applicable. Pero ang tanong dito, how much is the applicable tax due? So, hindi specific as long as tax yan, oo, yun yung sagot. Okay? So, dahil nga through the local stock exchange yan, ang applicable na tax dyan is yung stock transaction tax, STT, which is 6/10 of 1% of gross selling price beginning January 1, 2018. So, 6/10 of 1% multiplied by the selling price, which is 250,000. Ang sagot po ay 1,500. So, B, 1,500. Then also, under the create law, same procedure din. Di ma'am inamin. Ganun din proseso kapag binenta yung domestic shares sa domestic corporations shares sa local stock exchange o kaya not directly to a buyer. Yan, subject sa STT. Okay. 112, assume the shares were not held for investment purposes and the seller is a dealer in securities o dealer in securities na naman. So, part ng business activities niya yung pagbebenta ng mga shares. So, subject yan sa sa basic income tax, hindi sa STT. Okay po, 113. Yan. 2021 under create law. Local stock exchange, 10,000. Yan. Then, sold through the local stock exchange. Okay. How shall it pay tax on the transaction? Through the local stock exchange, so STT ang gamitin. So, 6/10 of 1% of the, selling price, which is the 2 million. 114, dealers in securities. Yan. Ibig sabihin, part na ng business activities niya, ang pagbebenta ng mga shares of stocks. Yan. As a result, it will never be considered as capital asset. Diba? Ordinary, ordinary, it is not considered as a corporate, capital gain. It is an ordinary gain or ordinary income kasi part ng business activities niya yung pagbebenta ng securities or shares. So, magiging letter A. A ang sagot niya. It's either 20% or 25% based on the gain derived from the sale. Okay? So, under the create law, dapat i-categorize natin yung isang domestic corporation. Okay? Domestic corporation lang ha. Yan. Na kung MSME ba o hindi. Kasi kung MSME yan, micro, small, and medium enterprise, yung corporation na yan, ang gagamitin na RCIT or regular corporate income tax will be 20%. Okay? Ano yung dalawang mandatory requirements? So, dapat both requirements must be complied with. Una, yung taxable net income niya should not be more than 5 million. Okay? The next requirement is that the total asset, excluding the land, where the office or the office are located, or exclude natin yung land, dapat not more than 100 million pesos. So, yun yung requirements. Dapat makomply yung dalawang requirements na yan para pwede siya makagamit ng 20%. So, kung hindi applicable sa kanya o isang requirements lang ang hindi niya na-comply, so automatic ang gagamitin is 25%. And that categorization is under ng create law lang. Under train law, wala. Fixed doon sa train law, 30%. Okay po? So here, yan, medyo complicated siya. Okay? How much is the total taxes on all its income in 2021? So kanina di ba na-discuss ko yung 4 na uri ng income tax? Tama? Okay, ang tinatanong dito, total taxes. So, yung 4 na income taxes na yun, na iba't ibang uri, yan yung i-include natin o isa-sum up natin para makuha natin yung total taxes o kaya tax expenses. Okay? Pero kung ang tinatanong dito is how much is the income tax? Okay, kung income tax tinutukoy, so ibig sabihin, ang tinutukoy niya lang is yung ordinary income na subject sa basic income tax. Okay? Yan, kaya huwag kayong malito. Okay? Yan. So here, total taxes ang tinutukoy ay lahat natin. Whether it's subject to capital gains tax or final withholding tax or just an ordinary income na subject sa basic income tax. of course, let us identify what kind of taxpayer. Oo, yung corporation na yan. Resident corporation. So, ibig sabihin, tinataksan niyaan, tama ba? Tinataksan lang yan within the Philippines. Lahat ng income yan derived within the Philippines. Okay po. So, the gross income, Philippine, 9.5, of course, included po yan. Then, the expenses, 7 million, deduction po yan. Then, the USA, di ba, ay hindi na kasi nga, tinatax lang yan within the Philippines. So, lahat ng outside the Philippines na income na derived niya will never be included on the taxable gross income of the taxpayer because that corporation is a resident corporation. So, isa-isay natin, other income, 2021, so under create lo yan. Okay? So, be familiar with the differences or for different approaches under train law or create law regarding on the dividend income. Okay? So, i-distinguish natin yan. Una, dividend from sale from domestic corporation. Diba? Anong uri bang taxpayer? Resident foreign corporation. Okay po. Okay. Asan na ito? Dito kasi, ang nag-issue ng dividend is a domestic corporation. Tama? Sino ba naka-receive ng dividend? Resident foreign corporation. Tama? So, same approach with the domestic to domestic. So, intercorporate dividend yan. So, the 700,000 will be exempted from income tax. Okay? Oo, hindi nga kasi domestic corporation nag-issue. Then, ang nag-receive po is a resident foreign corporation. So, intercorporate dividend po yan. Okay po. Yan. Pangalawa, dividend income from Omega Corporation, a resident foreign corporation. So, here, resident foreign corporation yan, tama. Tapos, ang naka-receive po ay si resident foreign corporation. Okay po. Saan na yun? Ito yung mga ano niya. Always remember that the dividend income from a domestic corporation is a tax exempt. Okay po. Yeah. So, the 250,000 is a resident foreign corporation. Bakit in-include yan sa taxable gross income niya? Diba? As a general rule, diba, under create law, kapag hindi mo ma-identify yung ratio niya, yung gross income Philippine, nung nagbigay ng dividend over the gross income world, yung ratio niya, hindi mo ma-identify. So, general rule is, ano yan, within the Philippines yan, na-derive yung dividend na yan within the Philippines. Tama? Kung na-derive yung within the Philippines, so, ang naka-receive po is a resident foreign corporation. So, subject yan sa basic income tax. So, included po yan sa taxable gross income ni resident foreign corporation. Okay po. Yan. The 250,000 is included. Okay. Then gain on sale of shares of domestic corporation sold directly to buyers. So, sold directly to buyers, ibig sabihin, subject yan sa capital gains tax. Diba? Yan. So, the 150,000 should be multiplied by 15%. Okay po, 15% para makuha mo yung capital gains tax. So, kung subject niya sa capital gains tax, no need for you to include that on your taxable net income. Okay po? Parang may mali dito sa ano. Bakit hindi sinama yung ano? Sold directly to buyers. Okay, the 150,000. Check natin.
Nicole, kailangan ko ng confirmation. Ay, si Julie pa din. Ano pong kailangan ko ng permission?
Sale of shares of domestic corporation sold directly to a buyer. Okay. So, dito sa problem na ito, the 150,000 Mhm.
Oo, naka-open yung yung
2021,
kasi hindi ko siya ma-access.
gain on sale of shares of domestic corporation sold directly to buyers. So, capital gains tax ito. And sinatanong total taxes, so dapat include ito sa
Saka si Wendy.
mhm.
So much for that.
Okay.
Wala na
So,
po.
confusing siya. Ang tinatanong kasi dito is total taxes on all its income. Okay po, if I were the examinee, I will include all of kind of income taxes. CGT, yan, final withholding tax, and the basic income tax. Okay? However, on this problem, ang tinutukoy po niya, ito pala, tama na pala yung sabi ko. So, yung royalty income, ito na, sorry, hindi ko nakita kanina. So, ang gain on sale of shares, DC, 550,000 times 15%. Okay, 22,500. Okay po. Ano pa ba yan? Okay, ito, okay na yan. Royalty income, subject sa 20% yan. Diba? Ang pinagkaiba na approach ng individual tax payer sa corporation is that sa royalty income under individual taxpayer, diba? Kinakategorize pa yan kapag ordinary royalty income, diba, na hindi books or musical composition, diba? 20% yan. Pero kapag royalty income na nanggaling sa books, musical composition, and alike, so 10% po yun. But here sa domestic occupation, ay wala na. O, as long as royalty income yan, automatic yan ay subject sa 20%.
Speaker. Baka makalimutan
Okay
din
po.
na mag-talk niya sa atin.
Then, saan tayo? Okay, interest income on peso bank deposit. So, 20% din yan. Okay, pasok yan sa final withholding tax. The interest income on RCDS deposit, 300,000. Anong uri ba yan? Resident, foreign corporation, tama. So, 15% yan. Under EFCDS, tama, 45,000. So, the interest from receivables in the Philippines is 600,000. Ano yan? Business related yan, tama. So, included yan sa taxable income po ni taxpayer. Okay? Then next, sold of real property classified as capital asset for 20 million. The cost of the condominium is 18,800,000 while its sold na value is 30 million. The company's total assets excluding the land is 68,000 pesos. Okay po. So here, diba, sold of real property. Okay, yan, pasok yan sa CGT. However, i-check natin kung anong uri ng taxpayer siya. Resident Foreign Corporation. Ibig sabihin, hindi po applicable ang capital gains tax niya. Kasi ang taxpayer po ay Resident Foreign Corporation. Applicable lang po yun, yung CGT on the sale of real property kapag ang taxpayer po ay domestic corporation. So, ganyan, yung gain dyan, yun yung magiging include sa taxable gross income. So, the selling price 20 million less the cost of condominium 18.8, so 1.2 million. Included po yan sa taxable gross income. Bakit po? Kasi ang nagbenta po or may-ari ng property is a resident foreign corporation. So kapag foreign corporation ang nagbenta ng capital ng real property o consider as capital asset, considered yun as included on the taxable income of the foreign corporation. Okay, hindi magiging subject sa capital gains tax. Okay po. Yan. So, here, diba, you cannot use the 20% tax rate. Kasi, ang 20% tax rate is applicable only to the domestic corporation, which is categorized as micro, small, and medium enterprises. Okay po. So, here, ang taxpayer natin po ay RFC. So, regardless kung MSME yan o hindi, automatic subject yan sa 25%. Ang pwede lang po gumamit ng 20% ay mga domestic corporation na categorized as MSME. Oo, paano ba nakaka-categorize na MSME yan? Yung dalawang requirement natin, the total net income or the total taxable income is 5 million is not more than 5 million, diba? Yung total asset must not be not more than 100 million, excluding the land. Okay po. Yan. I-total mo lang, then the answer is 1.465. So, ang tinatanong kasi dito, total taxes. Pero kung tatanong dito, how much is the company's income tax due in 2021? O, ito lang, yung mga ordinary income lang. Okay, yan. Pero pag tinatanong, how much will be the income subject to final withholding tax? Kaya, how much is the final withholding tax? Yan. Ito lang yan. Kaya, how much is the capital gains tax? Ito lang. Nalagay mo. Pero tinatanong, total taxes, lahat ng uri ng income taxes. Okay po. So, here, another sample. Diba? Yan, very, more or less, ganito rin yung natin, problem. So, domestic corporation, the taxpayer within and outside the Philippines. Tama, 2021, under create law. Tinatanong po dito, income tax din lang. So, yung mga ordinary income na hindi subject sa final withholding tax or capital gains tax. So, himay-himayin po natin. Okay, Philippines and abroad, domestic corporation. So, Philippines, 100 million. Yan. The gross income in USA, sama mo rin yan. The gross income in Japan, 50 million, sama mo rin yan. And of course, the expenses all over the world, deduct natin yan. Next, item is dividend from San Miguel Corporation, domestic corporation. Ano nga kapag domestic to domestic, ano yan? Intercorporate dividend. So, internal transaction yan, which is not subject to income tax. So, exempted po yan. Okay po. Yan, nasa yun? Yan, exempt. So, next, dividend from Ford Motors, Resident Foreign Corporation, income within. Okay? So, regardless, kahit wala na yung income within, okay? Tama ba? O, the 7 million, hindi rin yan included. Kasi intercorporate dividend, di na nilagay dito. But the dividend from Ford Motors, Resident Foreign Corporation, kasi under the CREATE law, okay? So, under the CREATE law, kapag ang nagbigay ng dividend is a resident foreign corporation, okay? At income within yung dividend na yun, identify, ano yan, exempted din yan. Diba? As a intercorporate dividend. Okay? However, kapag yung resident foreign corporation, yung na-identify mo na majority of its income is outside the Philippines, so less than 50% yung gross income Philippines over gross income world, nung nagbigay ng dividend, yan, yun yung magiging foreign source dividend. So, as a result, all of that item, 100, the entire dividend income will now be subject to income tax. So, included po yun sa taxable gross income mo. Kasi nga, foreign source dividend. Paano ba tinataksan ang resident po, ang domestic corporation within and without? So, taksan natin kasi foreign source dividend siya. Pero kung ang na-compute mo naman, 50% or more, yan. So, sabihin, majority ng income nung nagbigay ng dividend is dito sa Pilipinas na na-earn. So, the entire amount will not be subjected to income tax. Okay? And of course, will not be included on the taxable gross income of the domestic corporation. Okay? Kasi yung nag-issue is a resident foreign corporation and considered as income within. Na-derive yung dividend na yun within the Philippines. Okay po. Then, gain on sale of shares of domestic corporations sold directly to buyers. So, sold directly to buyers. So, hindi na pinadaan sa stock exchange. So, subject yan sa capital gains tax. Oo, the capital gains tax, di ba, will never be included on the taxable gross income of the taxpayer. May separate filing yan. Then, of course, the real income, Philippines, 5 million. Okay? The realty income Philippines 5 billion, subject yan sa final withholding tax kasi na-earn yan dito sa Pilipinas. However, the realty income USA 10 million will never be subjected to final withholding tax kasi na-earn yan outside the Philippines. Okay? But dito sa problem natin, dahil ang taxpayer ay domestic corporation. So, tinataksan siya within and outside the Philippines. So, the realty income that came from US will be included on the taxable income of the taxpayer. Okay po. Yan. So, included po yan, 10 million. Ito po yan. Right? Tama ba? Or abroad, 10 million to total 10 million. Okay? So, the interest income on peso bank deposit. Dito naman yan, bangko dito sa Pilipinas. So, the 8% will be subject to 20% final withholding tax. Interest income on FCDS deposit o subject din sa final withholding tax na 15%. And this item will never be included on the taxable gross income of the domestic corporation because it is subject to final withholding tax. Next, interest from receivables in the Philippines. So, related naman to sa business activities niya, interest receivable, yung 6 million will be included on the taxable income of the taxpayer. Next is rent income land in USA. Okay? So, ang tinutukoy dito, oo nga, land sa ibang bansa. Tama? Pero, ang tinutukoy is yung rent income. Okay? Oo. So, of course, yun ay na-earn outside the Philippines. Tama? However, the taxpayer is a domestic corporation na tinataksan within and outside the Philippines. So, kailangan natin include yan sa taxable gross income po ni domestic corporation. So, 25 million included po yan. Okay? Kasi, nga, outside siya na-earn, pero tinataksa man ng domestic corporation within and outside the Philippines. Then, of course, rent income building the Philippines, rent income yan. So, included po yan. 10 million. Okay po. Then, the company sold a condominium classified as capital asset for 200,000 pesos. For 200 million. The cost of condominium is 100 million. Was on about 300 million. So, subject yan sa capital gains tax. Tama? Okay, so kung subject yan sa capital gains tax, sa income tax, taxable income po niya, hindi na po included yan, but subject to capital gains tax. So, kasi nga 2021, so piliin natin kung pwede siya mag 20% or 25%. But based on the asset alone, 680,000, which is more than 100 million, bagsak na dun sa requirements na yun. So, ang pwede nyo lang gawin is 25% gamitin. Okay po. So, how much the final withholding tax on passive income? Ano yung mga nasabi ko kanina ng passive income? Final withholding tax daw ang passive income. Ito naman, sale of shares, CGTN, capital gains tax. Of course, the royalty income, 5 million. Yan. Ito siya. Tama. Times 20%. And the interest on peso bank deposit, 8% times 20% din po yan. Diba? Then, interest on FCDS, of course, passive income. Diba? So, subject, kaya lang FCDS siya. So, 15%. Hindi 20. Okay, then sum up mo lang, yun yung final withholding tax mo. Or final tax on passive income. How much is the total capital gains tax? Ay, nabanggit ko na rin kanina yan. itong CGT, gain on sale of shares of domestic corporation sold directly to buyers. So, 15,000 multiplied by 15% kasi under create law. Okay? Asan pa yun? Then, of course, asan na yun? Ito, yung nagbenta siya ng condominium classified as a capital asset. Diba? 200,000. Ililis pa ba natin sa cost? Hindi nga. Kasi ang formula ng capital gains on sale of real property is 6% multiply by selling price or fair market value, whichever is higher. So, ang pinakamataas po dito is yung zonal value. So, 300 million pesos, multiply it by 6%. So, ngayon, 36%. So, 80 million. Sama mo lang. So, ang total para final tax on capital gains tax to, mali yan. How much is the total capital gains tax in the passive income? So, 20,250,000. Yan. So, regarding dun the filing of income tax return, ang gagamitin is 1702-RT. Okay, BIR form 1702-RT. So, regular corporate and irregular income tax rate. So, ilagay mo lang yung mga personal info. Of course, your team, don't forget for calendar year ba, kung anong ginagamit ng business, kung calendar year ba, or fiscal year, calendar year, from January 1 to December 31. Fiscal year, may simula any month of the year, then magtatapos, count ka ng 12 months. Yun. Then, amend return, no. Sento, short period return, no, of course. Yan. Alphanumeric tax code. Ito, 1702-RT. Tama ba? Taxpayer PIN, yan, ilagay mo lang. Then, RDO code, kung saan naka-register si company. Then, the registered name. Yan, registered name, kung ano yung nakalagay po sa Security Exchange Commission na pangalan mo, or ano yung legal name mo, yun ang ilalagay mo dyan. Full name. Okay? Kung ano ilalagay mo doon, yun ilalagay mo. Okay? Registered address, malamang, ilalagay mo yung address mo. Zip code, okay? The date of incorporation organization, ilagay mo kung kailan register. Contact number ng corporation. Then, of course, the email address. Then, methods of deductions. Yan, it's either itemized or optional standard deduction. Yung itemized deduction is yung mga business expenses, yung operating expenses, and deduct. So, OSD naman is 40% of gross income. So, after deducting the cost of goods sold and the cost of service to the gross selling price or gross receipts, yan, makukuha mo na yung gross income. Then, multiply it by 40%. Then, yung magiging allowable deduction na. Okay, in lieu of the operating expenses or business expenses. Okay po. So, yan. Tax due. Yan, ilalagay mo lang. Na-compute mo ito, then less total tax credit payment, so wala ka namang inavail, net taxable, ito rin, kabigyan mo lang. Ito naman yung penalties, surcharge, interest, compromise, nagbayad ka naman on time, so wala ka nilagay dyan. Total amount payable, yun lang din. Then, of course, don't forget to, usually, ang naglalagay dito is yung president ng corporation o kaya any authorized representative. Kaya accountant, pwede yan. Yung head na accounting department, pwede mo pirma dyan. Or any authorized person. Okay? Yan. But more or less, president ang nagpipirma yan. Then, sales or 200,000, ilalagay nyo lang, i-identify nyo lang dito sa mga item na to, yung mga nakalagay doon. Okay po? So, kapag hindi siya applicable, 0 ilagay mo, yan. So, that's it. Yan. So, marami pa pala ito, hindi na natapos. Dami pa. Okay. So, So that's the end of the discussion. Wait lang. So, class